it's not something that most people would associate with Korea before they came here, but Korea drinking culture is extremely important.
I was not aware until we have so many people outside our apartment at 2 a.m. screaming and yelling, grown men acting like children on a Tuesday.
I remember living in Gyeongnam and getting out of work at 10 p.m. and walking down the street and having to look down at the ground to avoid the puke puddles and see like the businessmen passed out everywhere. But that's normal.
Some guys singing in the middle of the road, "Ooh, man," sleeping in the road. Somebody took their shoes off, took their jacket off, started sleeping in the middle of the road down there.
Korean people drink a lot. It is really common. The price of alcohol is really cheap. And even for public transportation, they can drink too. Korea is very convenient and very generous about that.
술 좋아해?
좋아해. 술 좋아해. 완전. I like it. 제일 좋아하는 거? 소주. 소주를 완전 좋아해.
People say it's like vodka. It's pretty unpalatable stuff. But after a few, it goes down easy, and it's incredibly cheap. You can buy a liter for $3 or £2.
Well, yeah, soju is about 19% alcohol, and if you go out with a Korean and drink, you guys drink at least a bottle of it a night, a person, if not more.
Well, you always have a boss that takes you out and expects you to drink, even if you have to work in the morning. It's just kind of like a cultural norm here.
And it's big culture that's shot, especially if your boss is there or anybody older than you telling you to drink. You just drink. You have no choice in the matter.
Drinking is ridiculous between foreigners in Korea. It's on a different level. It's different than anything back at home that I've ever seen. Like, I think my parents and my friends would be horrified if they saw the kind of drinking that happened here. It's just like, it's like natural. Drinking is natural, like as natural as breathing for Koreans.
Yeah, I drink every Saturday, religiously, heavily, without fail.
My first couple years in Korea, it was probably 5 nights a week.
Foreigners, you just have to. Like, here's the thing, like, if you're in like a big city like Seoul, you have all of these great drinking destinations and like nice club scenes and stuff, so you're gonna be drinking there because you have really nice locations to drink at, and it's a fun recreation. But then if you live somewhere in the middle of nowhere like Gyeongnam, it's kind of you drink anyways, but not because you have nice places to drink at. You drink because you have no nice places, period. So yeah, I don't know where you would live in Korea where you wouldn't feel inspired to drink in some capacity. Yeah.
Good. Long time no see. Yeah. How you been? How's it? Yeah, pretty amazing, man. How are you? Oh, pretty good. Yeah. No, we don't. I was Mars. Are we playing drinking games? How you been?
Yeah.
영화 감독이 되겠다가 떠난 학교에서 내가 했었던
What should he have said?
We don't want to know. 역시 외국인. 내가 입학한 지 몇 달도 안 되어서
Go chew. Go chew his drink.
우리 동네 걷고 싶은데 오늘 날씨 현재 영하 8도
Okay, time's up.
잘생기고 많이 먹는 남자를 보다가 유튜브서 맞아버린 새해. 너를 행복하게 할 용기가 없어서 뛰쳐나온 어제의 단골 술집. 한 친구는 술집에서 회계사 공부, 한 친구는 알바짜리 서핑. 나도 이제 그 파도에 함께 타야지. 우울하다 말하기 싫어. 내 장점은 감사할 줄 아는 거.
Sundays are awful. Sundays are the worst day of the week in Korea. You got to go back to work the next day, which is terrible because you just dwell on that thought. And then you're viciously hungover. The hangover cycle in Korea is bad.
I get homesick usually on Sundays. You know, Sunday blues set in, and that's usually when I Skype with my family.
It's been a year and a half since I've seen my family. But yes, I do miss them sometimes. But I feel like overall I'm a lot happier here than I would be back at home.
So I've been away from home, away from America for almost 9 years now. And I've only been home twice. Originally, I had planned on being gone for a year and just getting the travel bug out of my system, but that didn't happen.
And I know when I do go home to visit them, my brothers are going to be a year and a half older. My brother's turning 18, my brother's turning 13. They've changed so much. And I've had relatives who died, but you know, it hasn't been as big of an impact because I'm so far away from it. So to me, it really feels like time has stayed still in Korea. It's so carefree and every day is almost the same. It's kind of repetitive and you're just in your own world over here while the world back at home is still going on.
About a month ago, my grandmother passed away. You know, I wish I could have been home with my family because my whole extended family came to her funeral and I wasn't there.
I always like to think that I'm not homesick. And then, for example, a couple of months ago, I spoke to my dad, and I started welling up, you know, like a lump in my throat, and I felt like I wanted to cry, and it's so strange. And I think my dad could like hear it on the phone, you know. So I think it just creeps up on you sometimes when, you know, you think you don't miss home, and then boom, it just hits you.
I really miss home. I really miss my family and friends, of course. But I also have like a whole new group of friends here that I consider my family. So, you know, you can feel alone but never lonely because, you know, you always have someone down the hall or, you know, in the next town over that you can go hang out with.
So I miss my friends back home, and I always say, oh, they're doing this and I can't go. My friend's getting married. Like one of my really good friends is getting married, and there's just no way I could go back, and that is really difficult.
Most of my friends back home, they're working in a cubicle somewhere.
You know, a lot of them are still living in the same town that they grew up in and living down the street from their families. And when I told them that I was moving abroad, they couldn't really understand why I would do that. And they would ask me, so how long are you going for? What are you doing? They couldn't grasp like why I would leave America, why I would leave our home state. But to me, there was like nothing worse. That would be like my worst nightmare, is to live in the same town that I grew up in. A lot of them are, you know, on the regular asking me, all right, when are you coming home? Or come for a visit, but I can't give them a date. Every time I have a vacation, I like to travel and see other places in Asia. So it's hard to ever tell them an exact time that I'll be home. which is also hard because they're starting to have kids and getting married, and I am feeling like I'm missing out on a lot of that.
So when I first came, I used Skype to talk to people back home a lot, but since I've been here a while, we just kind of Facebook each other.
You definitely lose touch with some friends. I mean, the good one, it kind of culls out, you know, your friends, who are the close ones and who aren't.
But you kind of realise the people you don't need to speak to speak again.
Yeah, it's different. You know, you definitely lose touch with a lot of friends, but they understand. You understand, you know. I mean, overall, I do like the job. It's very, very interesting. Not long-term fulfilling in my regards, but I do enjoy it.
It's not where I see myself finishing. Like, if I taught in Korea forever, I mean, some people do that and they love it, but I think teaching in some form is what I want to do for the rest of my life, but maybe not Hagwon.
This is my first time teaching kids. I've never even been like a camp counselor, never really done anything where I had to like oversee the behavior and the actions of children. So this was different. This is really different for me. These kids are so young and they don't speak my language, and that's exactly what I'm trying to teach them. And a lot of them are here in my English class against their will. Their parents just sign them up for it. Like, it's a status thing. And I know that to a certain extent that me as a teacher, I'm not, because this is the first time I've done it, I'm not really trained that well to do it. I mean, I'm trained enough to not be stupid about it, but really to be like a really effective teacher, I just don't have the training and the qualifications to do it.
Let's say one of your worst kids is acting out. So then typically this kid may not know as much English, so you're trying to explain to him in English, you know, this is what you shouldn't be doing, but how do you discipline him when he doesn't even understand you in the first place?
I think that I'm not a teacher, I'm a selling point. I've said that before 100 times. I'm not really a teacher. That's my secondary function. I'm a selling point, considering that I'm at a private school and you send kids to this school to rack up accolades, because that's just what you do in the Korean education system. You're there, one, to learn, but two, to rack up accolades to get you to that next step. Be it, you know, am I going to like fancy high school, fancy college, getting fancy jobs, etc., etc., etc. It's a social conditioning that happens from a super duper young age, even the kids that I'm teaching.
Your bosses don't really listen to you because you're younger and you're foreign, so you're just beneath them. You're just shit, and you're just there as a puppet to perform for parents.
So, yeah, we're just faces. We're faces who are there to be trotted out for mommies so that they pay extra money to send their kids to a school.
A midnight run is when a teacher, usually right after they get paid, they have booked a flight, they pack all their stuff, and they leave in the middle of the night and they catch a plane out of Korea. This usually happens because they have some sort of workplace adversity, maybe homesickness.
Because this week, I honestly was going to wait till my next paycheck and buy a plane ticket and fucking go home. Because, like, my manager, he's such a shit manager. So the Korean teachers have been telling him, the ones who come to class with him, have been telling him, oh, my classes are boring, they're not interesting, the students are always misbehaving. Then in my head, I'm like, why the hell aren't you telling me this so I can do something about it, or tell me how to stop your fucking student from misbehaving?
I knew two people that did midnight runs. They both had problems with who they worked for. They didn't feel like they were being treated fairly, and so they waited till they got their paycheck, and then they flew out in the middle of the night. And usually the school, they go there the next morning, you know, to start school like normal, and that person just doesn't show up. And they go to their apartment and that person's gone.
I can imagine their reasoning behind it. You know, living in a country, especially being single. I came here with somebody. Being single, living in a small town, you may not feel like you have a lot of people or you can connect very well.